Okay, here's another comment about an artisan. Artisans approach their craft with discipline and delight. They always return to the creative process as if it were new to them. Agree or disagree? Do you start with discipline and maybe it ends in delight? Or maybe there's an initial spark of creativity which is delightful, and then it moves kind of to discipline, maybe it's back and forth. But I'd love to hear from you all as far as that process, this conversation between the...
I think I heard Tony laugh in the audience, so I can go ahead. Well, I think delight and discipline for me are balances of each other very often. So usually in any show, there's a given moment where I'm just like, I hate this, I'm done. I want to be done. It's kind of that you keep throwing things against the wall, and it's usually about the time before you get to, okay, it's time to erase some of this stuff and get it out of the way. But at the same time, and those moments are when the discipline holds you to it, and you keep going. But at the same time, you could be as disciplined as all get out, and then you're in the second show of a day, and you've got to find the delight. Otherwise, you know how in choir you talk about redefining the pitch? Like you're singing one note, but you have to keep redefining that pitch to keep it actually in tune.
Alive.
Yeah. You have to do that with a character as well, and that's where the delight comes in. You have to keep playing. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to find those interesting moments.
When you first said it, I was like, no way. Totally disagree. But I think it's more like golf. It's like every once in a while you hit an awesome shot and you're like, oh, I love this. And then 50 more terrible shots. But then you're hoping you might get back to that awesome shot. But I do think the discipline, I can't remember the guy's name, there's a book called The War of Art. It's a really great book. It's more towards writing, but it talks about showing up every day and having a discipline of working and working and working. And then when the muses come and you're in the zone and you're making, you're ready, you've been there, you've been practicing. When you have all the magic together, then it comes. But if you didn't show up every day and if you weren't working the whole time, then it's never going to come. So,
That's good.
but it's not always delightful. I think more times it's hard work and every once in a while delightful.
What about this side of the room? What do we think? Delight, discipline, and
well, it's just as Kyle said, it's definitely a combination of those things. I think the part of that statement that it sounds so lofty. The artisan approaches the studio. What was it?
delight and discipline.
Delight and discipline. Yeah, I know. It's more like fear and trembling sometimes. What Kyle is saying is that there has to be a certain amount of rigor, and I always beat myself up over this because I don't have this. Like I've observed many of my colleagues here at the Harrison Center. They come in all the time, and they're always doing something. I operated on this false myth that you could just waltz in and then it would happen, you know. But you have, like Kyle was saying, you can't summon the inspiration, you can't summon the muses at a moment's notice. You have to be there and make sure you have your chops when the time comes. And as I know all of you are singers, you know that it's important to keep your instrument going, and regular practice is essential. And I think that's the same for any type of creative work. There's things that you need to do. You've got to practice your scales even as an artist. And so sometimes when I'm not feeling it, I'll go into the studio and I'll just start to organize and clean or putter around, and usually I end up making an even bigger mess. But out of that bigger mess, there is like combinations of things that suddenly there's 3 or 4 projects that come out of that. And it's a beautiful experience, and it's one of the things that I tell myself that I want to keep doing this because I know there's more and more things that I can find in this process and in this life. So there's that.
I think the creative process often starts with delight for me, but not in the making of the painting, but in something I see. So I like a puddle. This past week I was looking at puddles a lot, and they were just delightful and incredible. And the way the reflections were in these puddles, and then when you step in the puddle, it just goes away for a second, and then it's right back where it was without looking like it moved at all. That's just incredible to me. And I was walking on the canal a while ago, and the way the sun was reflecting off of the canal water onto the cement bridge above it was just stunning. And so I wanted to make a painting about that. And I feel like I need to mention these things because I just mentioned death, and I want you to know just death.
That's good. What about potholes? What, when you look at potholes, what do you?
Angry puddles.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. They're angry puddles. They're deceptive puddles.
I like the potholes right now, and I know y'all hate me, but it forces people to get off their phone and drive a little more slowly as they're driving through Indianapolis, and it's kind of a video game for me. But there's, and I'm glad it only happens this time of year. It's part of the magic of spring.
Right. It's magic.
Yes. And it's always going to be the one thing that everyone gets mad at the mayor for not clearing the snow fast enough and not filling the potholes fast enough. So I'm wondering how long the current mayor is going to be able to keep people happy. Because that always takes it down.
Right. Okay. That's another discussion for another night.
I didn't mean to get political.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
I also would say too that when I first started painting, it was so overwhelming to me to start that I would just not start anything. And I felt that way, paralyzing. Yeah, I felt that way in college when I had a big paper I needed to do, and anything could be that way for us. Commissions, yep. And so I discovered, as I was preparing for a show in the Harrison Gallery this past September, I was just faced with this daunting space to fill, and I felt more daunted than I had ever felt in my entire life. And I realized I had to just start, and I had to figure it out with a brush in my hand. Because when I tried to figure it out without a brush in my hand, I wasn't getting anywhere. So I started making paintings that didn't work, and I threw them aside, and more, but at least I was thinking. And then it got to a point where I made one painting a month in, and it was the first painting that worked, and I just went from there. So yeah, starting with a brush in hand or whatever it is, just starting with that.
I have a little quote, or just, I work so when I come to the studio, I just work on dumb stuff for a while, so priming things or painting backgrounds of things, and then about 3 or 4 hours in, I'm like kind of eloquent. So it's just like warming up.
Yeah.
Like I don't go into the fine details right away. I wait and paint on other stuff until I feel like I'm kind of in the groove, and then
Kind of building your muscle memory. Jeanette Winterson, she says, I have to work for art if art is to work on me. And so that's one of the things I try to keep for our singers is that we have the disciplines of music. It's important in setting that foundation. We can't just immediately go to text and just having our magic moment. But we're breaking down the elements of pitch and sound and time and rhythm, and then really being secure with those two pieces, because you can't have expression, in my opinion, as far as music is concerned, unless those two things are secure, our pitch and our rhythm. And then out of that, then we add text and we add language. And then of course, then the spirit is involved with that as well. So having our disciplines cemented frees us up to really be creative and to express what's the heart of the piece. So this is good insight.